Well, folks, we are just a few short days into Donald Trump 2.0, and this new administration is certainly not wasting any time. There's been a flurry of activity. Today on Real Estate Backstage, we're going to take a look at some of the initial actions taken by the new administration, specifically those that are relevant to the housing industry. Now, before we jump in, if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead and subscribe that way you don't miss any future episodes of the show. And if you're looking for the show notes where we have links to all the articles that we're going to reference, you can find that at realestatebackstage.com/episode 15. So I want to start with the Senate confirmation hearing for Scott Turner. This is according to RIS Media. Quote, on Thursday, January 16th, the Senate Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs held a confirmation hearing for Scott Turner, who is Trump's nominee to lead the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Turner previously served as an executive director of the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council from 2019 to 2021 during the first Trump administration. In this role, he helped oversee opportunity zones, or low-income areas designated to give tax benefits to investors so as to spur economic investment within those areas. Opportunity zones were first established by the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, and as of August 2024, the zones have seen median home price growth. Since 2023, Turner has served as the Chief Visionary Officer of JPI, a multifamily housing developer. Ahead of the hearing on Tuesday, January 14th, the Mortgage Bankers Association sent a letter to the Senate committee expressing support for Turner's nomination and encouraging his swift confirmation. The letter was co-signed by several other real estate trade groups, including the National Association of Realtors. Quote, while the U.S. is in the midst of a housing affordability crisis, read the NBA's letter, HUD is poised to play a crucial role in addressing our nation's housing shortage and ensuring all Americans have access to safe, decent, and affordable homes. Mr. Turner understands the value of strengthening public-private partnerships and collaborating with stakeholders to expand the supply of housing. Equally important, he is passionate about the need to target investment to traditionally underserved communities. The current unaffordability of housing in the U.S. was a dominant topic during the hearing as senators questioned Turner about his commitment to upholding or revising existing HUD programs so as to best respond to the current problems. Turner largely declined to give specific commitment on programs, often returning to the idea that he would, quote, take inventory of HUD's existing policy upon being confirmed and work to adjust the department's strategy from there. During his questioning by Senator Mike Rounds, a Republican from South Dakota, Turner said he will ask the questions, is this policy helping the mission of HUD or is it not? Is it helping to build more affordable housing or not? In later questioning from Senator Bill Hagerty, Republican from Tennessee, Turner said his goals in leading HUD will be, quote, efficiency, transparency, and accountability, unquote. So just my personal perspective, Scott Turner seems to perform much better during these Senate hearings than Ben Carson, who served as HUD secretary in the first Donald Trump administration. Probably my favorite Ben Carson moment was during a Senate hearing when someone asked him if he knew what an REO was, and he thought they were asking him if he knew what an Oreo was. Yes, like the cookie. In case you're wondering, REO is real estate owned, which is a foreclosed property owned by a bank. But yes, that is a thing that actually happened. Ben Carson thought they were talking about Oreos in a Senate hearing.
I'd also like you to get back to me, if you don't mind, to explain the disparity in REO rates. Do you know what an REO is?
An Oreo?
No, not an Oreo. An REO. REO.
Real estate?
What's the O stand for?
Organization?
Owned. Real estate owned. That's what happens when a property goes to foreclosure. We call it an REO. Mm-hmm. And FHA loans have much higher REOs.
All right, so next up we have Bill Pulte, who has been nominated to lead the Federal Housing Finance Agency. This is according to Inman. Quote, in what's viewed as a potential step toward privatizing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, President-elect Donald Trump, at the time, has nominated private equity CEO and philanthropist Bill Pulte as head of the mortgage giant's federal regulator. Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Sandra Thompson, who has led the FHFA since June of 2021, plans to step down January 19th. Bill Pulte is the grandson of homebuilder Pulte Group's founder, William J. Pulte. Although no longer affiliated with the company, in 2016, Pulte helped his grandfather oust Pulte Group chairman and Chief Executive Officer Richard Dugas and served on the company's board of directors until May of 2020, unquote. So Bill Pulte has most recently served as a CEO of a private equity company. He's also been heavily involved in philanthropy as well, and he has been endorsed for the role by the president of the MBA, the Mortgage Bankers Association. All right, let's talk about some of Trump's executive orders. So the very first day, on Monday, after the inauguration, I believe he signed 100 executive orders the very first day, covering a wide variety of things, from taking action to secure the southern border, prevent illegal immigration, closing DEI initiatives within the federal government, renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and addressing the affordability crisis for the U.S. housing market. So here's a piece of one of Trump's executive orders. Quote, I hereby order the heads of all executive departments and agencies to deliver emergency price relief consistent with applicable law to the American people and increase the prosperity of the American worker. This shall include pursuing appropriate actions to lower the cost of housing and expand housing supply, eliminate unnecessary administrative expenses and rent-seeking practices that increase healthcare costs, eliminate counterproductive requirements that raise the cost of home appliances, create employment opportunities for American workers, including drawing discouraged workers into the labor force, and eliminate harmful, coercive climate policies that increase the cost of food and fuel. Moreover, many Americans are unable to purchase homes due to historically high prices, in part due to regulatory requirements that alone account for 25% of the cost of constructing a new home, according to a recent analysis. In sum, unprecedented regulatory oppression from the Biden administration is estimated to have imposed almost $50,000 in costs on the average American household, whereas my first-term agenda reduced regulatory costs by almost $11,000 per household. It is critical to restore purchasing power to the American family and improve our quality of life, unquote. So this, it's well-intentioned, right? As president, I hereby command everyone to make housing more affordable, right? This kind of reminds me of Michael Scott in The Office, basically saying, I declare bankruptcy. Just because you say it doesn't mean it's going to happen. So I would love to see this be fleshed out with a little bit more detail of exactly how they plan to accomplish this. Just because you direct all of your agencies to work towards these goals, these are great goals, but what are these specifics? What are we actually going to see happen at the federal level in order to accomplish these goals? Yes, it's true that there's a lot of regulation that drives up the cost of new construction. However, the vast majority of that regulation is at the local level. We're talking, the city, the county, the state. So the federal government is certainly limited in scope of how they can address this type of problem. All right, this was interesting. So Donald Trump is demanding that not just the United States Central Bank, but countries around the world reduce interest rates. So this is according to Reuters. Quote, U.S. President Donald Trump demanded OPEC lower oil prices and the world drop interest rates in a speech to global business and political leaders, and warned them that they will face tariffs if they make their products anywhere but the U.S. Quote, I'll demand that interest rates drop immediately, and likewise, they should be dropping all over the world, Trump said via video to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland on Thursday. Quote, I'm going to ask Saudi Arabia and OPEC to bring down the cost of oil, unquote. And this is according to Mortgage News Daily. Quote, bonds lost ground this morning despite slightly higher jobless claims. There are no obvious cases for casualty apart from markets generally bracing for the impact of impending fiscal changes. Some feel that tariffs will increase inflation. Others feel that separate policies will increase growth or decrease revenue. None of the above is good for rates. Notably, Trump said he would demand lower interest rates in his Davos speech today, and the 2-year Treasury yield actually dropped enough to notice, but not by enough to suggest the market is really reading too much into this, unquote. So again, Donald Trump wants interest rates to come down, and he's going to try to put a lot of political pressure, I think, on the Federal Reserve to make that happen. So it'd be really interesting to see Jerome Powell and Donald Trump kind of go head-to-head on this and see if Jerome Powell stands his ground and keeps rates higher for longer if he feels like that is what is warranted based on stronger economic data and persistently stubborn inflation not getting down to that 2% target. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see over the coming weeks and months what type of dialogue we see back and forth between Donald Trump and Jerome Powell. All right, so this was an interesting story. The New Mexico MLS is the first MLS in the country to actually require floor plans for every single listing. So this is according to Real Estate News. Quote, a small southwestern MLS may turn out to be a trailblazer. The New Mexico MLS announced this week that floor plans will soon be required for all residential, rental, and multifamily listings on its platform. New Mexico MLS, based in Santa Fe, is the first MLS to mandate the inclusion of floor plans. So why now? Well, because buyers increasingly want them. In its annual trends report, Zillow reported that 86% of buyers in 2024 said they were more likely to view a home if the listing included a floor plan, up from 79% in 2020, when the survey first asked buyers about floor plan preferences, unquote. So by the way, 6 weeks ago, back on episode 9, we did a deep dive into Zillow's 2025 Consumer Housing Trends Report. You can check that out if you're interested at realestatebackstage.com/episode 9. All right, continuing from the article, quote, at NMMLS, we are committed to delivering the highest quality data and media to consumers, and this initiative is a major step forward in achieving that goal. NMMLS Executive Director Megan E. McFarland said in a news release. It's not only good for consumers, McFarland said, it's also a win for agents. Requiring floor plans on listings ensures that every buyer in New Mexico has access to the tools they need to make better decisions. This move also ensures our brokers remain on the cutting edge, delivering a superior listing experience for their clients. NMMLS is proud to be a leader in the space and excited to set a new standard for our industry, unquote. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about this. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and leave a comment. What do you think? Would you like to see this trend continue in other MLSs across the country? I think it would be great to have floor plans in every single listing. That would certainly make the experience a lot better for consumers and for agents when you're looking up at property in the MLS and you're trying to get that data for your clients. However, I don't know how I feel about making it an absolute requirement, making it mandatory. That's just, another barrier to entry, one other thing that an agent has to do in order to get the property submitted, maybe an additional expense for that listing agent. So drop a comment, let me know what you guys think. All right, so speaking of floor plans, an appeals court has ruled that agents' use of floor plans is quote-unquote fair use. So this is according to RIS Media. Quote, in a significant decision for the real estate and home design industries, the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that the use of floor plans in resale listings constitutes fair use under copyright law. Issued on January 14th, 2025, the ruling brings clarity to a long-standing dispute between Charles James, a home designer, and several real estate agents who are accused of copyright infringement. Advocating for the agents, the National Association of Realtors defended the use of floor plans to market their listings without fear of copyright infringement. Floor plans are indispensable tools for agents to market properties effectively and for consumers to make informed decisions during their property search, said Kevin Sears, president of NAR, in a statement. This legal victory demonstrates how working together at all levels can ensure members have the tools they need to serve their clients, unquote. So to make a long story short, there was this architect or home designer, and these properties that he had designed 30 years ago now resold, and the listing agents of these two properties used floor plans, not even his original floor plans, but floor plans that they recreated based on their measurements. And he sued them, saying that you are not allowed to use the floor plans of the homes that I designed in order to market these properties. But luckily, and I think rightly so, the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, the judge did rule that that is considered fair use because the floor plans are being used for informational purposes only and not strictly for commercial purposes. So the agents weren't making money specifically by using the floor plan. It was just an informational piece or an informational tool that they used to help market the listings, to help provide information to consumers to make a more informed decision. All right, y'all, that's a wrap for today. This is a pretty quick episode. Just a reminder, you can find the show notes at realestatebackstage.com/episode 15. And I'll see you guys here next week with another behind-the-scenes look at the real estate industry here on Real Estate Backstage.